Hello, today we will do an Excel metric with Power Query. Indeed, this is a Power Query challenge by Computergaga. If you want to watch the original video and the solution by Computergaga, watch that video. Let me briefly explain what is the challenge about. In this table, we have appetizer in the first three columns. In the middle three columns, they are the main courses. In the final three columns is the dessert. Under each columns, you will see that there is a list of guests who ordered that. Each guest would only pick one appetizer, one main course, and one dessert. If you are serving the guest at the dinner, this table is good for you because you know exactly whom to serve with tomato soup, whom to be served with classic burger, etc. However, if you are the event organizer and you would like to confirm with your guest the food they order, for example, what did Tom has ordered for main course and dessert, can you figure it out easily? It is not an easy task. Here comes our challenge. And the expected outcome is something like this. A table that lists all the guests, showing what they have ordered as the appetizer, main, and dessert respectively. On the other hand, I also want a summary table like this for the kitchen members. They don't care who eats what. They want to note the quantity of each dishes. For example, they need to prepare 11 sets of tomato soup, 10 sets of fish and chips, etc. This summary table will help them a lot. So let's get the work done. The first step is to convert this range into an Excel table. Select the range, go to the Insert tab, click on Table, check My table has headers. Okay, now let's rename it to Base Table because I'm going to base on it for many transformation steps. Now we are ready to load it to Power Query. Go to Data tab, click from Table and Range to load it to Power Query. Now the Power Query editor opened. On the left hand side, we can see on the queries panel the queries we have. On the right hand side, we will see the query names. That is the Excel table we have assigned. And below, we see the apply steps. Here, I don't need the change type steps, so I'm going to remove it. We can see in this table, the headers actually capture all the dishes we have. This is what I want. So I'm going to demote the headers to row number 1. Go to the Home tab, select here. Select Use Headers as first row. There we go. We have all the dishes on row number 1. Now let's make a duplicate of this query. So it make a reference to it. Rename it to dish because this is the query I will show all the dishes. Now I need only the first row. I don't need anything else. So I'm going to keep only first row. Go to Transform tab, select Keep Rows, Keep Top Rows. I want only the number 1. There we go. Now I want to transpose it into a column. So go to Transform, Transpose. Now let's rename it to Dish. The next step is to add an index column. I'm going to add an index column from 1 so that I will have a serial number of 1 to 9 so that I know that the first 3 are appetizers, item 4 to 6 are main, 7 to 9 are dessert. Then I can add another conditional column to identify which dish is belonging to appetizer, main, or dessert. Let's rename it to type. If the index number is less than or equal to 3, then it should be appetizer. If the index is greater than or equal to 7, then it should be dessert. Else, it will be the main course. Make sense? Let's press OK. Now we have the types identified for each dish. We don't need the column index. Let's remove it. Let's select the two columns and then set the data type. The data type should be text. Now we are able to create the other query. Let's reference the base table again. Let's rename it as output 1 because we are going to have our output in this query. The first step we are going to do is to transpose the whole table. Let's go to Home tab, Transform tab, Transpose. Now we see that all the dishes are under column 1, which is super cool because we can do many transformations easily here. Let's watch it. I'm going to right click on it and then I will select and pivot other columns. Wow! Now this is a perfect vertical layout. This layout is essential for all kinds of analysis. We can do a lot of analysis from here. See, we have a full list of guests in the vertical layout in the third column. We don't need attributes columns. Let's remove it. Oops, sorry, I made a mistake. No worries, all steps are recorded. We can delete any steps that we don't want here. Click. Let's do it again. I don't want this column, right click, and then select remove. Now we can rename the columns. The first column is dish. The second column is the guest. Oops, should be guest. The next step I'm going to do is to pivot the table. I want a separate column to list all the appetizer, a separate column for main course, and a separate column for dessert. However, we are not able to do so right now because I have no idea if tomato soup or is this tomato soup a dessert or appetizer or main? Whether this plain cocktail is dessert or main. I need the information which is not currently available. But do you remember this query we prepared before? We have the information here. So we can map the information back to this query with merge. Let's go to the Home tab, Merge Queries, Merge Queries. Now I want to map the dish from output 1 to the table dish. The matching column will also be dish, and the joint count will be left outer, which is actually by default. See, we have 90 records matches. Cool. Let's click OK. Click here to expand the column. Uncheck dish. I don't want it. I want only type. Also uncheck the box. Use original column as prefix. I don't want it. Okay. Now we have identified for each dish what it is, whether it is appetizer, main, or dessert. Now we can do the pivot. Select the type, go to the Transform tab, pivot column. Under the value column, next select dish, which is fine. Open the advanced options. Select don't aggregate here. OK. Now we have the column pivot. We have a column called appetizer, one for main and one for dessert. We now know that Anissa ordered tomato soup as appetizer, burger as main, and cheesecake as dessert. Perfect. This is the layout and the output we want. Now let's select the 4 columns. I want to define the data type. Because the data type is quite obvious, I can click Detect Data Type directly. They are all correctly defined. Cool. Now we are ready to create the other output. We can write on the output one. So I'm going to duplicate this. Rename it as output 2. The reason of the duplication is I can actually reuse some of the steps created for query 1, for the output 1. On this step, I have a query that gives me a list of dish by guest who has ordered that in the vertical layout. On the next step, I have the column names, the column headers renamed. That is good. So that is what I need. I don't want this every steps afterward, so I select delete until end. Okay, the next step I'm going to do is a group by, because I want to count how many dishes appeared. So I want to group by dish. The new column is count. The operation I want is to count how many rows per each dish appear on the table. Now let's OK and see the result. It is done. A summary table telling me for each dishes how many count it is. Let's change the data type. We are ready to load our result, output 1 and output 2, to the worksheet. So I'm going to Home, close and load 2. I want to load the result on the worksheet here and here. However, I cannot do so. The existing worksheet is grayed out. I cannot select that. Why is that? Interesting. So I'm going to load it to create connection only. But before I do that, I want to show you that we have 4 queries created. If I select the table, and actually I have the only options is the new worksheet, and Excel will load the 4 queries into 4 separate worksheets, which I do not want. That's why I'm going to load it to connection only. Now I have the 4 queries loaded as connection only. Now I can right click on output 1, select load to again. This time I'm ready to load it to a table, and I can specify the cell reference. Let's go there and OK to load it. Now it is loaded. Let's do it for output 2. Right click the output 2 queries, select load to, select table, and click the cell reference that you want to load to. OK. Done. As simple as this. Cool. But as always, let's test the result by adding some new data to it. Let's say we have another guest called Ada. She ordered tomato soup as the appetizer, fish and chips as the main course, and she liked chocolate brownie as the dessert. Then Let's refresh the result and see if we will have the output. Because I want to refresh both output 1 and output 2, that's why I'm going to Data and select Refresh All. See, we have Ada here. We note exactly what Ada has ordered for appetizer, main course, and dessert. Now, let's try another scenario. What if Ada did not pick anything for dessert? Refresh. Then, nothing appears here as the dessert because Ada did not pick anything for the dessert. What if Ada mistakenly ordered 2 desserts? She wants apple crumble as the dessert. At the same time, she somehow also picked the chocolate brownie as the dessert. Now, let's refresh again to see what will be the outcome. Right click here, refresh. Interestingly, nothing's shown here. We did not expect this because actually Ada has picked more than 1 dessert. We want some message so that as an event organizer, I can follow up with Ada to confirm. So how can we tackle these issues when the user, when a guest pick multiple items? Go back to the query here. We see there is 1 error. Actually, that is the error. Let's double click to look into the Power Query editor. See that? We have 1 error here because we cannot show 2 items in a single cell. So how can we handle this? Actually, this is simple. We select the columns where we will potentially have the error. Go to the Transform tab, click Replace Errors. So what we want to replace when there is an error. Remember that the only case we will encounter an error in our steps is when there is multiple items selected, because we cannot display multiple items in a single cell. So let's put this as a reminder message. Multiple items selected. Please check. Okay. Close and load again and see. Now we have a reminder message instead of a blank value. This is cool. We can follow up with Ada to check whether she wants cheesecake or the brownie or apple crumble as the dessert. Let's do another testing to Patty. Assume Patty has ordered 2 main courses. Now I right click on the table and refresh. See that we have the same reminder message. Power Query is so cool.